what is this firewall doing? In order to talk about what the firewall is doing, we need to set up some vocabulary to talk about zones. Now, a firewall divides networks into zones, and the basic idea here is that we have an untrusted outside public network zone, the internet, and we have a trusted inside local network zone, which would be inside of your home or inside of your business, right? So it's the distinction between computers and devices that you have access to, that you have administrative access to and can control, versus devices out on the public internet where you do not have administrative access to monitor and control those devices. So we separate this into these two groups, trusted and untrusted, and we use that to make decisions about how traffic can flow through these networks. Let's take a look at what the firewall is doing. So here we have Jane. Jane is a CPA. She works in the accounting department of Global Mantics. And Jane is doing research, and she needs to go out onto the public internet in order to find out the latest federal guidelines for tax blah, blah, blah. Jane opens up her browser and she sends an HTTP request out to the untrusted network, and the untrusted network replies. And what we want is we want our firewall to allow that traffic. We want our firewall to allow Jane to browse out to Google and then have Google send back the website through the firewall. What we don't want to have happen is have some request, any request from the untrusted public network to come into the firewall. We want that denied. So any other request coming from the untrusted public network, we want denied. The only traffic we want allowed here is the traffic that Jane requests from Google or some other website, and allow that back into the firewall. So we want Jane to be able to surf the web and build TCP sessions with devices on the internet, but we don't want devices on the public internet building TCP sessions with Jane. This is only one half of what we want our firewall to do, though, because in this case, we want a system so that the public internet can't access our internal stuff, but our internal users can access public internet resources. The second case for this is when we look at Global Mantics from an administrative perspective. And let's say Global Mantics, with the recent Star Wars release and all the hype around it, Global Mantics decides to get into the Star Wars memorabilia business. They have their administrators set up a website on their inside trusted local network behind the firewall, and that website has a store where Star Wars fanboys and fangirls can browse to the website and download all kinds of props and memorabilia for Star Wars. All right, all kinds of exciting stuff. So what we want to have happen here is we want our Star Wars fanboy to be able to make an HTTP request or a website request to our web server, have the firewall allow that request, and then send the Star Wars fanboy back the website so he can browse and pick out all the nifty stuff for Star Wars that he wants to use. So in this case, we actually want traffic from the untrusted public network to get into our trusted network so that the Star Wars fanboy can purchase some Star Wars memorabilia, and our business can stay running with all of this extra income we get from all of these props that we're going to sell. But let's say that our Star Wars fanboy out there goes black hat, meaning in network world, he becomes a malicious attacker on the internet with the sole intent of trying to compromise your devices on your inside trusted network. So, this could be the same person, right? The Star Wars fanboy could have an alter ego, and one moment he's surfing for Star Wars memorabilia, and the next moment he turns ugly, puts on his black hat, and now he wants to attack our network. So he sends some non-HTTP request into our network to try to get access to our web server. Maybe he wants to manipulate the web server to send him free Star Wars memorabilia. And what we want here is the non-HTTP request. We want that to get denied and thrown away. So the idea of the firewall is that we want traffic that's supposed to go through the firewall to go through the firewall, and traffic that isn't supposed to go through the firewall to not go through it.